Hi, my name is Christy Berkowitz, and I am Creative Strategist for Los Angeles County, Department of Human Resources, and the Department of Arts and Culture. As Creative Strategist, my kind of duty and privilege is to create arts and wellness programs for the county employees, which total roughly 130,000, I believe, of Los Angeles County. And with me, I have...
Hi, I'm Alene Terzian-Zeitounian. I am an English professor at College of the Canyons and the chair of Humanities there. One of the projects that I engage in is the creation of our literary and arts magazine called Cul-de-sac, which is in its 18th volume and has won numerous national awards for its inventiveness and creativity and the strength of its content.
So part of my residency with LA County, as I said, is to create arts and wellness programs and activities and events for LA County public servants. When our communities were devastated in January by the wildfires that we experienced, I decided that we would pivot a little for our next program, and that we would create a series of healing through creative writing workshops for LA County employees, with the opportunity for employees to then submit writing they created during these workshops to our Poems of the Living anthology. This anthology contains 51 poems created during this 6-part workshop series, all led by poets and writers who were impacted by the 2025 wildfires, including Alene, who is former poet laureate of Altadena. This project was a deeply moving experience that I decided to do as a result of my own experiences with grief and processing grief. I'm an artist who works in multiple mediums, and writing is one of them. And in 2022, after the death of my mother, which is one of the reasons I applied for the Creative Strategist program, because she herself was a public servant, writing seemed to help me process the grief and loss that I had experienced the best. And so when this devastating event happened to our communities, I thought, what if we could use language to help people process what they have experienced and what their communities and their neighbors have experienced? Because when we use language in this way, we also not only name what we're feeling, but then we can share it with others. Others can also relate to what we're feeling, and we become a much stronger community as a result. Because I'm so lucky that Alene was one of the amazing facilitators of one of these workshops. I'd love to hear from you about your experience with the impact of these workshops.
You know, Christy, when you reached out to ask me to do this project, I felt so honored, and it was so serendipitous because when I left Altadena, Altadena meant so much to me as a community. I met my husband there, we got married there, we had our first home there, my daughter was born in our home there, and watching that house burn to the ground on live television was one of the most surreal and devastating things that I've ever witnessed. So to be able to have this moment where I could share my knowledge and lead and guide other participants through using writing as a form of healing, for me, it healed a piece of me that I think was broken as I was watching all of the devastation around Los Angeles. So my particular workshop was about the ode, which is, you know, a form in poetry that focuses primarily on reverence and exaltation, right? So I was teaching the participants on how to create their own ode. And in that process, I wrote my own too. And I sent it to Christy afterwards, and I said, hey, look at this. I wrote something in response to my own prompt. which is which turned out to be one of the best things I could do for myself. Because as we continue this conversation about how writing heals, this is the poem that came from my very own workshop. So this is called Ode to Living, and it's after the Eton fire. To the young tendrils shooting up around a charred fence, the lonely rebar in mud, the overdue library book resting in a sinkhole, the handsome neighbor's caftan at half-mast, the Holy Spirit votive's audacity. To the couch stuffing, particle board, wood chips, and glue, to everything that remains and sullies. To the cleanup crew and their iron lungs, the store owner's stubborn mop, the inevitable sun that ganders days later, the bulldozer's haul, our ceramic dinner plates, the cash in the Coke can, velvet wedding ring boxes, the rooster crowing at midnight, the hands that grab a water bucket to douse and smother, the neighborhood baker who leaves pies in open windows, the window, a pile at our feet. The mulch and straw waddles to the watery ash floating like bodies down the Ganges. Watching it all go is the same as loving it.
Thank you. I think your work has had such a big impact on not only yourself, everybody who worked on this project, but on the people who took the workshop itself. And there are so many poems that were submitted as a result of your workshop that I just want to read kind of one of these particular poems, that a really quick one. This is Next Time by Eugenia Thomas. She goes on retelling the story to herself, revisiting the night before, the day of, the day after. Even then, she knew life as she knows it would not be the same. And I think for everybody who was a part of this project, we all then took to writing as a result of it. Yeah. All of our colleagues at the county are some of our new favorite writers. It turns out are, nurses.
Yes.
And social workers and public health workers. And I'm so excited that in Los Angeles's deeply profound history of amazing writers who have come from Los Angeles, we get to add these people to that canon.
Yes.
Because this is also going into the library collection, where it serves as a document of how to process and a guide for how to process the continual change that we face in Los Angeles. And one of the reasons that I chose the title Poems of the Living is in homage to Octavia E. Butler's work in the Parable series. And we see in our own Los Angeles writers, they're so prophetic in everything. And I think the idea that we are not only having the opportunity here to listen to our writers, but that these writers are public servants, it seems like the prophecy is so much deeper because they have so much experience with our communities.
Absolutely, and at the festival at the Natural History Museum, which I have never read in a room that amazing, we were in the mammal room, it was pretty awesome to do a reading in there. One of the participants came up to us after, if you remember, and she told us about how impactful the series was for her, how it helped her build a sense of community, it helped her be really vulnerable in a safe space. It helped her understand how she could process loss and grief, and through it, find ways toward hope, right? And so having that kind of impact on someone in a workshop and being able to guide them through it, through this sort of step-by-step writing prompts and series, I think that we don't do that enough in our communities. And so any chance or opportunity we have to build programs that allow any person, not just people who are studying writing or who are at advanced degrees of writing or teaching writing, but any person who can engage with it can see the benefits that it's going to have. The way that it promotes belonging, it builds personal writing practices for them and helps them navigate all of those things, the challenges they're going through.
Yeah, I wanted to add that there was no kind of pre-experience required for these workshops. In fact, we encouraged people who had never tried creative writing before to take the workshops. And so there's writing in this anthology from people who this is their first poem.
Absolutely.
And there are so many cultures in which there is no word for artist. And I think one of my biggest goals as a creative strategist is how do we create a culture within our county in which there is no word for artist, because everyone here is an artist. And so there's no need to distinguish between artist and not artist, because also every artist is a healer. Because the artistic process and the creative process is almost exactly the same as the healing process. And so what does our culture look like when everyone thinks of themselves as a writer, when everyone thinks of themselves as creative, as an artist, and as a healer?
I think for both of us, because your poems are in here too, writing is, in essence, self-discovery, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Understanding ourselves better, understanding the trauma, negotiating that trauma, and coming out to the other side of it.
Putting names to our feelings that we didn't even know we had names for within us.
And the workshops really gave people a voice, right? They gave them a voice and the ability to confront something, I think, that was pretty traumatic in their lives. And not everybody wrote about the fires, though.
No.
Yeah.
Divorce, the lost pets.
Yeah.
The pet poems made me cry the most.
Yeah, loss of spouse, loss is universal. And so they were really investigating, like on such a deeper level, how to confront these things through the writing process, which gives us time to reflect, right? And to reflect on it from a higher level perspective. So when we're in it and we're in the fire of it, we can't see it as clearly. But when we look at it from a bird's eye view, we can see it through its entirety. So that was something I think that came up through the self-discovery process of this.
And it came up in every single workshop over and over again, not just yours, but in every workshop, people were vulnerable. People were willing to be shaped and molded by their own experiences and processing them. And it was just so unbelievably powerful to witness. And people also wanted so much more of them. They wanted more of these workshops. They wanted more opportunities to write. So where can folks start writing? Where can they, I didn't study writing in school. I have an art degree. So where can people move towards being creative with their writing and use it as a healing process?
Well, I think we would be remiss if we didn't try to direct anyone watching this to continue, or if they've never even tried it, that there are many ways in which they can start building their own writing practice. One of these things could be to just, as simple as pick up a piece of paper or your laptop and begin a daily writing ritual. So give yourself 5 minutes, 10 minutes. In my classes, I always start with a 10-minute writing activity every class session after we talk about what joyful thing occurred in their lives that week. And then we do our 10-minute writing session. Sharing work is also really great. Did you ever feel uncomfortable sharing your work with family or friends?
I don't think I've ever been uncomfortable sharing, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But there are times when I'm amongst elevated peers, such as yourself.
Oh, no.
That I do worry that specifically my writing is not up to par. But I think that is how you know it's good,
Yeah.
is when you care enough to worry whether or not it's good.
Yeah.
And so I kind of use that as a guide as well. But I think there's so much strength and vulnerability, and it teaches you so much resilience that I'm often afraid, but I'm also just incredibly brave. So I just do it afraid. And that's what it means to be brave.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you're not afraid. It means that you do it afraid. And so I think, now is the best time more than any time in history to be brave.
We all do it afraid, honestly. Like, as much as I have been writing and going through this process over the duration of my career, I've been at College of the Canyons for 23 years teaching creative writing classes, and my students are always saying, I don't feel like I belong here. And having, through the course of those 16 weeks of the semester, that's my goal. And in those workshops, that was my goal, even in that 1 hour, to try to make people feel like they belong and that their voice matters and what they have to say is important. One of the other things before we close is just going out into the community and finding open mics, finding places where they can, interact with others, building a community. My writing would not flourish if I did not have my writing group. We meet every month, we hold each other accountable, and that's how we get our work done.
And I think people also have this notion that everybody doing it is really, really good. You should go to some open mics and see that might not always be the case.
Yeah.
So
They're working through it.
They're working through it. But
yes.
What a beautiful space of vulnerability for you to work through it too. So these are safe spaces to work through it. And that's what we all need, right?
Yeah, and we just really want to encourage you to go out there, pick up a pen, pick up your laptop. I don't know, lots of people aren't writing with pens anymore. But pick up your laptop and see where it takes you. Writing is discovery. Writing is healing. Writing is hope.
Maybe just a 2-line poem every day for the next 7 days. See what happens.
Thank you.
Thank you.